So for this exercise, we're going to continue with the previous video. Remember the one we found the vanishing point 1 and then we had all the lines going to vanishing point 2. So for this exercise, you're going to need a few pencils from hard to soft. And my softer is a 5B and my harder is an H. Now maybe you need a razor and the pen. Maybe you need a little piece of tape. And certainly you will need a few cutouts of tracing paper. So in order to gain some time, I'm going to show you what I just did and have done. The first thing I did on the previous tracing was to find all the centers on the drawing, so in all the faces, okay? And in order for you to visualize it, I think the best thing will be that I show you the color that I did. So the front is on blue, the top is on yellow, and the only thing I did is to find the center from diagonal to diagonal and to find the center point, and from diagonal to this center point. And if I need to divide it and subdivide it, I will start doing the same with the other part, okay? So after that is done, and you can save it like that, you can save it clean, you can put another piece of tracing paper and draw your couch almost as if it was made out of cardboard, okay? And that's exactly what I did. So I just found the proportions and, you know, trying to visualize how would it be before, you know, it's soft. So just the kind of the skeleton on there. Now, after that, I want you to put another piece of paper. You might need to put more than a few, depending. I don't want you to be erasing and, you know, trying to fix it all the time. I would rather have you just to put another little tracing on top of it. That way you can see the lines. Except I'm going to take a little part of this. I'm going to leave it here. Okay, so in order to do this, we're going to put another piece of paper right here. And I'm going to start very, very light with probably my H. Or maybe I'll use the HB so you can see it. Make sure that your pencil is sharp. And I'm just going to start looking at my model. I can see this line goes down a little bit. It has a small curve on the back, on the side. And probably this part here, I can barely see, but I can see that it goes all the way to the end, as I have it. So here, I'm gonna go down a little bit, okay? Maybe not that much. Now, I'm gonna mark lines only for me to later see which one is lighter and darker areas, but we know they're not really lines in there, but it's just when the fabric wraps around, it changes from being lighter to darker to much darker, depending where the light is hitting the object, okay? So I'm just gonna try to play with the form as much as I can. It curves in here, and it curves in here, okay? Now this piece, it goes sort of a little bit in, and where the leg comes, it curves. So I'm trying to visualize this part of the couch. Remember, you might need to do this a few times. So I'm going to play with the form Now everything becomes a little bit rounder because obviously we want the couch to be comfortable. Now these lines are very important. They go to the vanishing point. These lines do, but then I curve them a little bit, okay? And these lines are totally vertical, but I also use the curve after I have visualized the vertical. I'm gonna mark this line, although I know it doesn't exist, just in order to change and remind myself that the fabric is gonna acquire a small different tone of changes there. And as you can see here, it's a little bit curved too, okay? And this line doesn't exist. I'm just gonna mark it to change from darker to lighter later on. Now here is a little bit tricky because this I cannot visualize completely. Now, if you find a piece of furniture online and you go to the manufacturer, they might have complete dimensions and all the details about that. So I'm just using a magazine. Maybe this is slightly more or less. Now the legs are very small and they curve a little bit. They're made out of metal. They start, let me see, so it won't be there. This line is very important that it goes to the vanishing point. It goes tiny, and this one to that one, all right? So don't get confused, because those things, very small details, are what sometimes you can make or break your drawing. The little gap, I don't know how much the gap extends, but it looked like it get lost, obviously, when you by the time you get to the seat. So let me show you how it's looking so far. So somewhere in there is, you know, my couch. It still looks really, how will I say, you know, I can soften up. It still looks really chunky and not as soft as the original. But for an underlay, it's probably pretty good. At this point, I could go to a darker pencil or, you know, just to mark a few things. So this is a 5B, maybe not that dark. I'm just gonna put another piece of paper right now, and I'm going to finish more like an underlay, because already, as you can see, even though it's not so soft, it's already bleeding over. So what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna try to get an underlay. More than anything, it's just a drawing right now where after this I can put another piece of paper, or I can transfer, and then I can just do light and dark. But for the exercise of how you put the couch in it, you know, I'm just gonna probably mark the lines that are pretty much the lines of my couch. The beauty of this is you can really fix it every time you mark again. You can fix, you know, the back, you can fix the height, you can fix a few lines. On this one I can just mark it like that if I want to, just to remind myself to change the values when I'm doing the rendering. I should have done the same here, you know, but that's okay. Now the piece of metal, this leg, I can only see a little part. And then this metal leg, I can see a little bit more. Okay. Right. Now, I can put another piece of paper if I made a mistake, you know, because I was using the pen. Obviously, I cannot erase anything. And mark the contour lines and mark the interior lines. So this one, this one, this one, all of this are just to indicate changes on the light and shadows. Now this one is a solid, this one is a solid, okay, this one just changes there, this one is a solid, this one is a solid. On the back, the curve, that one is a solid on the bottom. The back. And don't be afraid to make a mistake, because if you don't take a risk, drawing only comes with practice. To remind myself, where did they go? That's the middle, the edge of the leg, that's the middle. They almost look like wooden legs, but you can do that when you... Okay, so I have an underlay, and I can scan this and I can transfer my drawing right there. Okay, it's not exactly, but very close.